What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and we are less than 24 hours away from the first game of the New York Jets season. Jets, Steelers, Fields versus Rodgers, 1 p.m., MetLife Stadium. Looks like the weather's going to be pretty nice for the game. I don't think it's going to be that nice for the tailgate. Looks like it got some rain coming in, so that part kind of stinks, but honestly, that probably helps the Jets, puts it in their favor a little bit. But we got a lot to talk about. So today is going to be our game preview episode. So what that means is we're going to talk about a little bit of the news going on around both teams going into this game. We'll talk about the importance of this game and why it matters so much to the New York Jets. And then we're going to go into the three matchups that I think you should pay attention to as a Jets fan, and then the three keys to a Jets victory. And then finally, I will wrap it all up with my overall predictions for the game. And we'll see what happens. But very excited to dive into this because it's finally here. This is when optimism is the highest. We already watched two other football games happen this week, and I will tell you those were high-powered offensive football games that we watched. I don't think this game is going to be anything like that, so don't expect Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert performances from a guy like Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see. You never know. It's the NFL. Anything can happen. And I think that's the fun, optimistic part of starting the season 0-0 and kicking it off tomorrow. So let's get into it a little bit. First, let's talk a little bit about some of the big news surrounding both of these teams going into tomorrow's game. So number one, the biggest news for the New York Jets, the most devastating news for the New York Jets, is Elijah Vera-Tucker, AVT, our starting right guard, goes down for the entire season with a tricep tear. Now, if you remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in Denver, he tore his other tricep that took him out for the year there. He's also torn an Achilles before. That was also in Denver. He was never hurt ever in college. Doesn't miss any games. Then he comes to the Jets, and he's the most injury-prone player we have. And it really sucks for him. I mean, this is his contract year. He was probably going to get paid somewhere up to $100 million, $80 to $100 million this offseason by a team, whether it was us or someone else. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen because he hasn't proven that he can stay on the field. Well, the reason why this is so devastating is for the Jets, number one, he was just named captain. He's one of the leaders of the team. So it's really sad to see that one of our offensive leaders is actually going to be out for the whole year. But the other piece to this is we were really excited about this offensive line. This was supposed to be the strength of our roster. You go in and you have really two young tackles who we feel really good about. You're excited about M'Boue getting to learn from AVT because they're going to be right next to each other on the line. You have a young center in Joe Tippmann and a really solid left guard in John Simpson. So it's sad that we're not going to be able to see those five players together all at the same time, especially in an offense where we're going to have to run the ball a ton between Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, all those folks. So that's the really tough part. I really hope M'Boue is still able to get the learnings he needs from the other players on the offensive line, and he develops the way he should, even without a guy like AVT next to him. So the other tough piece, I think there's a good thing about the Jets, is it seemed like they planned for this. They didn't plan for someone to get hurt this early, but they kind of knew that a lineman's going to go out. Who's it going to be? We don't know, but the entire summer they have been talking about this center competition between Josh Myers and Joe Tippmann. Now, I thought this was a joke of a competition because Joe Tippmann has clearly been the best center on the entire roster. But if we need someone to play guard, you're going to put Tippmann at guard and you'll put Myers at center. And that's what the Jets are going to do here. That's what I expect them to do, at least. Now, the good news is Joe Tippmann is a very good guard. He's big, he can pull, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't have to worry about, he had some high snap issues last year. It kind of went away after the preseason, but, it comes around every now and then. Josh Myers is not that good at football. There's a reason why we only had to pay him $1 million to come here, because he is not this sought-after offensive lineman that everyone was desperate to get. We'll see how he holds up. I'm really hoping he holds up well, especially since him and Justin Fields played together in college. But it's a little more shaky than it would have been, but props to Aaron Glenn for trying out some of this stuff in the preseason so that if this ever happened, we were ready for it. And it's not like this is going to be some wild, crazy thing. John Simpson was out for most of the preseason. So Tippmann was playing guard while Myers was playing center while Simpson was out. So I feel like there's a little bit of rhythm there between the entire offensive line. We'll see really what it looks like tomorrow. Like, we're not really going to know. But, man, it just sucks for AVT. He's such a good guy, and it sucks to see him out. And, it really sucks that we didn't get to see this offensive line, live up to the potential that it could have been. So we move on. I would say if you're going to lose any piece to the team, losing an offensive guard isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to you. It's not like the Chargers losing their starting left tackle. I would have been more devastated if that happened. And you look at the Chargers, you're watching them last night, Joe Alt slides right over to the left side and plays outstanding. He was a stud last night. The right tackle wasn't too bad. I mean, I thought Justin Herbert had to run around a little bit, but, they made it work. They made it work even with Mekhi Becton puking on the sidelines, like the Mekhi Becton we know and love. So I'm wondering if the Jets can do something similar with their offensive line, with a younger offensive line that's maybe not as talented yet as one like the Chargers offensive line. But we'll see how it goes. The next thing I want to talk about is on the Steelers side. Cam Hayward, who is an All-Pro, Pro Bowl defensive tackle for the Steelers, been around a ton of years, is in this weird, he's not hurt, but he's holding out, but also sometimes practicing. So it's kind of like a hold in, but not really. It's going to be very interesting to see if he plays. I think he will play tomorrow, but he wants more money. First of all, he's very tone deaf in the way he talks about it. He's like, I need to look out for my family. We don't play football for a long time. The guy's made $145 million or something like that in his playing career. So it's your own fault if you spent all that money already and your family isn't set up for, generational wealth after that. But, he's trying to get his. And for now, I will cheer for him to try to get his because I don't want to see him on the field tomorrow. And they also lost their first-round pick, Derek Harmon, who's going to be out tomorrow. He'll be back sometime this season, but it wasn't season-ending. But it's good that we're not going to see him tomorrow because, like we said, we're going to run the ball a lot. So it would be great to not have Cam Hayward and him in that lineup tomorrow because it's going to create a lot of holes up the middle for us, and it's a little bit easier of a task on a Josh Myers rather than playing those two. So we'll see what happens. Let's all hope that Casey Hayward is pissed at the team, or Cam Hayward is pissed at the team, and he's never going to play tomorrow. So, that's the other big update. Now, when we look at this game as a whole, we talked about it a little bit on our earlier episode this week where this game feels so important to the Jets. Like, for me, in my mind, well, number one, we can't kick Aaron Rodgers out the door and then have him walk into our house week one with our new head coach, Aaron Glenn, and throw for 3 touchdowns and 350 yards. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but that would be so embarrassing and so detrimental to the start of this entire regime, where then everyone's going to be saying, well, Aaron Glenn shouldn't have gotten rid of Aaron Rodgers, should have treated him better. See how much better we would have been if we had Aaron Rodgers still? Now, look, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, so, I'm not in the hater mode like everybody else is, but can't have that happen. Can't have that happen to Aaron Glenn in week one. Now, the reason why I think this game is also important is because you look at the rest of the schedule to start the year. So right now we got the Steelers at home, then we got the Bills coming to town in week 2, then we go to Tampa, and then go to Miami. Those are tough games. Like the Bills, I don't think we can really compete with them right now with our talent. You never know. Every now we beat them with Zach Wilson before, so it's not like we can't. It's just the scales aren't in our favor right now. And then you look at the Bucs going back down to their place. They just made the playoffs. Baker just threw for 40 touchdowns last year. That's going to be another tough game. And then Miami, that's a house of horrors for us. We never win in Miami. So, I don't know. You could be staring down the barrel of 0-4 to start the year, and then you got to play this potent Dallas offense back at home. So, I just don't think we want to be in a position where we're starting off 0-1 and then looking at all of those teams on our schedule. Now, Aaron Glenn's going to say, we're not afraid of anybody. We're going to go to anybody's house and play them, and we're going to play tough and all that stuff. But the reality is we are not as deep of a team as a lot of those folks, and we don't have as talented of a quarterback, and we're just overall not as skilled. So I'd rather play the upper hand. I feel a lot better going in 1-0, and then if you drop 2 or 3 games, you're still in it. You can still come back from that. So this is a really pivotal game, for the whole outcome of the season. Now, of course, like I said, we can beat any team any day. Any team could beat us. We could lose to the Panthers, we could lose to the Saints, and then we can go beat the Ravens and the Bills. You never know what's going to happen, but it's unlikely. So That's why I think this game is so critically important tomorrow, that we start off on the right foot. And you as a fan just want to like feel proud and positive that this team is headed in the right direction under Aaron Glenn. And this Steelers team is not that good. Like, sure, they've got some really good players. They're always going to be good under Mike Tomlin. They're always going to be that like fringe wild card team. But you could play this team. Like, this is a team that we can play and we can beat. Now, I'm sure the Steelers are on the other side saying, thank God we got a cakewalk in week 1 against the Jets, where Aaron Rodgers didn't have to play the entire preseason. They're just going to walk into MetLife and beat us. Because if you really look at the Jets, we have a below-average quarterback. We just had our starting offensive guard out for the season. We have no wide receiver help besides Garrett Wilson. We have a rookie tight end. We have a rookie head coach, a offensive coordinator who's never called plays before, Jermaine Johnson coming off a torn Achilles. Who knows how he's going to play? And then his backup is Michael Clemens, and we know what he looks like. So is this a team that you're really that scared of if you're the Steelers? They're probably coming in saying, we're going to knock the doors off this team to show the rest of the league that we're serious this year, and Aaron Rodgers is going to go out on top. So this is going to be a very interesting one, but I really do think we can compete. Now let's pause. Let's talk about 3 matchups that I'm really looking to watch in this game. The number one, the biggest one, and it goes under the radar sometimes because it's really hard to think about the offensive line pretty consistently, but I want you to watch Armand Membou, our right tackle, against one of the highest paid players in the NFL, TJ Watt, on the Steelers side. This is going to be a pivotal matchup in this game because whenever we do pass, he's going to have to hold up in protection. Now, I'm sure, Engstrand is going to set up some like Mason Taylor chips on TJ Watt so that he's not alone, Membou, out on Watt, because that's going to be trouble. If I'm the Steelers, I'm having Watt follow Membou around everywhere. Like, he's going to stay on the side that Membou's on the whole game because he knows he can beat him. So I think that's going to be really pivotal to keeping Justin Fields clean. If not, Justin Fields is going to have to use his legs a lot more than we'd want. But if TJ Watt has a day, he has 2 or 3 sacks, I think we might be in trouble. So really rough first game for Armand Membou coming into the league, playing against one of the best D linemen in all of football. But if he can play well, that's a huge confidence booster for the rest of the year because you're probably not going to be playing many people better than a TJ Watt. Maybe you got Myles Garrett later in the year. Jalen Phillips is pretty good. Greg Rousseau's okay, but like none of them are at that, Myles Garrett plus TJ Watt category. So good luck to Armand Membou out there, but it's going to be a fun one to watch all game. So take a look out for that one, and then also expect the Jets to run right at TJ Watt too. When you get those like quick pass rushers like that, run right at them and see what happens. The next matchup I'm really looking to watch, DK Metcalf, who is the new starting receiver, number 1 receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, versus Sauce Gardner. Now, we actually don't know what kind of defense we're going to run under Aaron Glenn. We haven't seen anything in the preseason to show us what it's going to look like. Now, Aaron Glenn's very aggressive. I know we're going to blitz and things like that. Sauce might even blitz. Stevens is going to be a good blitzer. But the question is Sauce going to follow DK Metcalf around? Now, typically, if you're watching the game, Sauce normally stays on only one side of the field. That was under Saleh, though. If he wants to be that stud number 1 corner, is he going to follow? That's the big question. So if he does, I feel really good about Sauce versus DK. DK didn't really beat Sauce that often last year when he played for the Seahawks because Sauce is like the same height as him. So those big receivers aren't as difficult for Sauce. It's really the quick receivers that I think give him a little more trouble. So I'm really excited to see that matchup, and I think Sauce will hold up well. Now, if they don't match up together a lot and they keep DK on the left side of the line, he's going to be up against Brandon Stevens. So that's going to be a huge matchup to look out for. Stevens versus DK. Stevens had a really good preseason. You could tell he's really sticky in coverage, but the guy has no idea when the ball is coming. So he is just like a deer in headlights, doesn't know how to find the ball. So he'll have great coverage, but can't swat the ball down, can't pick it off, anything like that. So that's going to be a really interesting one to watch. So hopefully we can. DK is really their only receiver. The only other one is Calvin Austin, who can fly down the field. So I'm a little nervous that he might beat us for a big play or two, but DK is the one that we really got to hone in on because Rodgers. He's going to hone in on his one guy and just look at him all game. All right, the final matchup. Well, there's a lot of other matchups, but the final big one that I want to watch. Will McDonald versus Broderick Jones. So last year, Will McDonald played against Broderick Jones when Broderick Jones was the right tackle for the Steelers. Will McDonald had him in a blender all game. Now, the funny part about this is if you remember the draft that we took Will McDonald, we all wanted an offensive tackle. And Broderick Jones was the one who was taken right ahead of Will McDonald because the Patriots traded with the Steelers so that the Steelers could go get him. And to see Will McDonald beat him that consistently last year was awesome. Now, Broderick Jones has now moved to left tackle this year, so I'm very curious to see if Aaron Glenn puts them up against each other pretty consistently because he knows that Will can beat him. If Will McDonald can have a day in the backfield and make Aaron Rodgers move, that's going to be one of the big keys to this game. Can you get Rodgers out of the pocket? Can you sack him? Can you get him nervous? Can you hit him? So Will McDonald versus Broderick Jones. And then if not, on the other side is Troy Fontenot, who is another young tackle that I haven't seen Will play against him before, so I'm not sure how he's going to perform, but I think Will McDonald's going to be one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL by the end of this year. So let's see what he can do against a guy like that as well. So Will McDonald, Broderick Jones, square off. Let's see how it goes. All right, finally, let me give you my 3 keys. Now, I'm gonna like ping pong off that last one. So we just talked about Will McDonald versus Broderick Jones. The big key, probably my number 1 key to this game, is hit Aaron Rodgers. He looked slow last year. He's like 42 years old. He can't move like he used to. So between Will McDonald, if he can get a couple good pass rush snaps out of Jermaine Johnson, I know they're not going to have him play the whole game. It's going to be a slow ramp up till like probably week 6 when he's back to normal. If we can get blitzing from both Quincy Williams, I think he's going to be an awesome blitzer. I'm really excited to watch that. Same thing with Jamien Sherwood. They're both so fast. No way is Rodgers going to be able to get past them if they can beat whoever's chipping back there, whether it's a running back or if a guard takes them on. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But I think if we can get Rodgers uncomfortable really early, then you got yourself a game because he's not going to be able to hang in the pocket that long. So I think that's number 1. Also, actually, like another piece to this, we haven't seen Harrison Phillips and Quinnen play together yet. So that's going to be really fun to see if they can generate anything up the middle, which will then force Rodgers to go outside, walk right into a Michael Clemens, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully we could get the Quinnen Williams of a few years ago where he has a nice 10, 11 sack season, where we kind of lost that last year, right? I feel like he wasn't the great player that we know him to be. All right, number 2. My number 2 key to the game. No turnovers. When you play against a head coach as good as Mike Tomlin, you can assume that they're going to play a smart game. And the way some of those teams win is they take advantage of your mistakes. So we can't be making mistakes. The good news is Justin Fields didn't have a ton of interceptions last year in the few games that he played, but he did have a lot of fumbles. Luckily, he recovered most of them himself, or his team recovered them. But you got to take care of the ball. We can't be giving Aaron Rodgers good field position to just kick a field goal or march right down the field. So no turnovers is going to be massive. I feel like if you can play mistake-free and then win in some of those other areas of the game where it's special teams, maybe you get a big play out of like a Arian Smith or Justin Fields makes a big run, that's how you're probably going to win this game. So no turnovers. You got to win that turnover battle. And if you do turn the ball over, our defense has got to step up and get a turnover back. We got to win the turnover battle. Finally, the third one, run the damn ball. We are going to run the ball more than any other team in the NFL this year, and it starts tomorrow. What I think that means is if you're a Jets fan watching this game, it might look boring. It might take you back to like 2009 Mark Sanchez, where we handed the ball to Thomas Jones like 4 out of 5 times. And it was slow, but I'd rather do that than put the ball in harm's way by throwing it all over the yard and Justin Fields not being accurate, can't read a defense, things like that. I think if we can really run the ball, pressure their defense to move up, that's when you can pop Garrett Wilson. You can get some screen passes in. Those tight ends got to get involved in the game. So it's going to be big. If we can get Justin Fields over 50 yards rushing, if we can get Breece and Braylon combined over 100 yards rushing, I think you win the game. But it's not going to be easy because that's a good defense that you're playing against, and Mike Tomlin is smart. He knows exactly what we're going to do. He just had Justin Fields on his team last year, so he understands what he's up against. Now, there's some under-the-radar keys to the game that I think, we're not going to hit on too much, but you got to look out for. One I mentioned was Calvin Austin on the deep ball. Make sure Andre Sisco and Tony Adams are in the right places so that we don't get beat deep. I do think their tight ends are really good. Pat Fryermuth and Jonnu Smith. Arthur Smith loves his tight ends. He's the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. So can Jamian Sherwood and Quincy Williams contain that middle of the field to make sure that those tight ends don't get open? So I think those are going to be big. On the offensive side of the ball for the Jets, like what other receiver is going to step up? Can Mason Taylor step up in his first ever game? I think that's going to be a really interesting thing. How are we going to mix up? If you look at our roster, we have 4 tight ends, a fullback, and 3 running backs. So out of the 53 players that play on the Jets, 8 of them are either tight ends, running backs, or fullbacks, which is insane. So how are they going to get open? Is Jelani Woods going to play, the guy that we just signed off the street? How are we going to get Stone Smart involved in the game? Andrew Beck, is he going to play? And is he going to be involved in the passing game? It's going to be really interesting to see all that kind of stuff. And once again, this is first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator. What are we going to get, and how can that predict what the rest of the season is going to look like based off what we show tomorrow? So those are my keys to the game. Now, finally, let's do predictions. I'm going back and forth on this. The fun thing is the Steelers don't win in MetLife. I can't remember the last time the Steelers beat us in MetLife. I feel like we always come out on top somehow, even when we're like definitely not the better team. We don't typically win in Pittsburgh. I think there was like the one Zach Wilson comeback a few years ago. There was the year of the AFC Championship game where we lost in the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh. We beat them actually earlier that year. But so yeah, it's kind of a toss-up. The other thing is we never beat our former quarterbacks. We lost to Sam Darnold in Carolina. We've lost to Geno Smith multiple times. We lost to Denver when they had Zach Wilson, even though Zach didn't play. For some reason, it's just like a weird... Chad Pennington beat us when we moved to the Dolphins. It's just a weird thing where we don't beat our former quarterbacks. So that makes me a little nervous with Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to be coming out with something to prove a little bit, I feel like, that he still got it. But I am going to predict a very low-scoring game. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a lot of running the ball. I think it's going to be a lot of Aaron Rodgers throwing short, dinking dunks, just like he was doing last year. I got a lot of field goals in this game, so Nick Folk's got to come up big. I've got the Jets beating the Pittsburgh Steelers late, 16-13. So it's 3 field goals for the Jets. Is that right? 7, 10, 13. So yeah, 3 field goals for the Jets, 2 for the Steelers, 1 touchdown by each team. And then my prediction for first touchdown scorer for the or I guess anytime, because it's the only touchdown we're going to score in the game. I've got Mason Taylor. I think Mason Taylor is going to score the Jets' first touchdown. He was very active in the preseason, so in practice and training camp. So I'm very excited to see what he looks like. So that's it. I got the Jets going 1-0 after tomorrow. I feel like this is a mistake that I said that because, I don't know, but Aaron Rodgers sucks in his first game of the year. Opening day, he's not good. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited. I think hopefully the fans bring the energy. I know there's going to be a lot of Steelers fans, but I'm hoping we walk out of there happy with a win. And then we've got a positive momentum going into the rest of the season where we got some stuff to work off of. So that's all I got. I hope everybody enjoys the game tomorrow. I'm going to be posting content all across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff over the next 24 hours, including like our tailgate, things like that. So feel free to follow at JuicyJet25 across all those platforms. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff. Show me a little love. And hey, let's go Jets. Let's walk away with a win and head into our game against Buffalo 1-0. I will talk to you all after the game. See ya.